Welcome back to City Summit. Actually, the one person that pushed me the most to do digital grass and led me to the Knight Foundation is actually here with us today. And then another young lady, beautiful young lady, she heard me at a speaking engagement and she gave me a card and she said, I want to be involved with you no matter what you're doing. And when I looked down, I was like, whoa, that's VP of International Business with Emerge Americas. What does she mean she want to do something with me? So it was very humbling. And it goes to what our topic is. It is all about who you know, but it's definitely about what you know. So jumping right in, we have Professor Hatcher and Professor Rendero. So let's go ahead and get right into it, ladies. It's basically about your network is your net worth. I'm going to try to stay out of your conversation as much as possible. You get any dry spots, I'll ask a couple of questions, but I just want you to kind of have a general conversation. You have some of the questions in front of you, but enlighten this crowd about how to use your network to make it your net worth.
You can go first. Go.
So first of all, my mom would be very happy that I'm being called professor because she's a college professor and always wanted me to go into teaching. So I gotta send her a photo of this badge. But thank you, Mike and the entire team for inviting us both to be a part of this panel. Networking, I don't know if I consider myself a networking expert. I think a lot of people think that I am, but I'm usually, I still get nervous. Although I travel and I speak and I'm always at events, I still get nervous. And so what I've done to kind of hack that so that I can kind of navigate situations that I walk into a little bit better, and those are what I'll share with you, is when there's an event coming up that I'm going to. Say I'm going to South by Southwest, which I go to almost every year. I always join the conversation online really early. I see who's tweeting about it, I see what lists, and I start having conversations with those people online leading up to the event. So when I'm at the event, I know people, especially if I'm going somewhere on my own. That has really kind of helped kind of break that I don't know the word I'm trying to say, but what's
The
the word?
icebreaker.
Yeah, it's a great icebreaker, right? So I know people that are going to be there. We've already had a conversation. We kind of continue that conversation in person, and that has really helped. And then those people kind of introduce me to other people, and then I turn around and do the same thing. As far as like the events to go to, I don't go to networking events. Like if it says it's a networking event, you more than likely will never see me there, because I really like to build genuine relationships with people. And I think so often when we think about networking, we think about it as constantly a me kind of situation. Like, so what's in it for me? And no one, you don't usually have enough time because people are trying to navigate the room, but you really don't have time to really have a genuine conversation with someone and really build a relationship. So most times when I went to networking events early on, it was so much like salesy. And I owned a popsicle company for 7 years. So people were like, oh, popsicles? And, okay, cool. And they would run the other way, right? And I'm like, no, I do so much more. And more than likely, I could be a great resource to you, or maybe you could be a great resource to me, but you've only talked to me on a surface level. And so for me, I didn't like those things, so I stopped going to those things. And so I think there's so much quality events that are happening here in South Florida. The ecosystem is beautiful, that it's growing every single day, and there's so much information. And so the events that I go to, I like to go to things like this, because I know that based on the content and the people that you brought in, I'm going to be able to connect with people on a more genuine level than I am at just like a networker during happy hour.
Right.
And from there, we have different things that we can talk about other than what do you do and how can that be of benefit to me? I hate asking that question of like, oh, so tell me about, I always ask, tell me about yourself. And the default that most people make, they immediately go to their position. I'm like, no, do you have kids? Like, what do you like to do? Like,
right.
Tell me about yourself. Let's connect on another level. And I can go on, but I'll let you jump in first.
Once again, thanks for letting me be here. And this is great because I am like a network bug, okay? I really love to network, and I come by it naturally, and which is really kind of cool. I mean, people tell me that, and I never realized it. But I really do select where I'm going to go, just like Felicia does, because, you know, to me, time is important. And I travel 70% of the year for eMERGE. Okay, so that, you know, so I'm constantly on, even on a plane I'm on, okay? But I think what I like to do is really, kind of home in on where I'm gonna be, all right? So I do international development, I do startups, and I do the hackathon for eMERGE, okay? So my focus is being engaged in networks or events that focus on that, because it's a piece of cake for me. It's I walk in, people, oh, eMERGE, and how's the hack doing? And so it starts growing. So I always tell people that, you know, if you join a chamber, if you join any organization, join committees. You know, I sit on 9 boards. 2 of them are finally paying boards. Thank heavens for that. Because, you know, we usually pay to be on a board, so to finally have somebody pay me to be on their board, I enjoy that. But the connections you make there is a great network, because those connect you to other connections. And I grew my business. So a little recap on me: I have failed, I have succeeded, I have worked in 34 countries, I speak 3 languages fluently, and I sometimes, the other day I was at a loss for words with one of my colleagues, and they were all amazed, okay? Because I couldn't answer it in 3 languages. But I must say that I'm not afraid to take that challenge. I mean, I opened the first incubator in Miami in 2001 during the .com era for IBM.
Can you state the name of that incubator, please?
Darby Tech. So we opened that, and a lot of money was pumped into that. And .com went bust. They wanted to close it. I bought it from them. Then I sold it. But I have lost businesses and through hurricanes, or had to close a business for failure, and all that because of who I knew and how I worked. I am here today. Okay, so don't forget that is a key. Don't burn any bridges. It could be really the person sitting next to you at an event, the person sitting next to you at lunch, a conversation you overhear, that you might say, you know what, it's not for me, but I know how to connect you. Because that is what I do. That's what I do for eMERGE. I have connections throughout the world. You know, having worked in all those countries, I deal with governments, I deal with startups, I deal with major CEOs, and all of them, I can tell you a perfect example. Somebody called Beacon Council the other day, all right? And 5 people, by the time Beacon Council referred me, 5 other people had said they needed to talk to me. Now this is just like a network deal. That's all it is. And it was just to ask a question of how to do a certain thing. So if I give you any tidbits on here today, it is really always don't burn bridges. I was taught this when I came from Lisbon, Portugal in 1978 to Houston, Texas. Okay, now you talk about a culture shock. I mean, Houston, Texas in 1978 was still cow town. I mean, we had cows in the middle of the city, okay? But I grew that network there, and that was a good old boys network. You know, women were, you would think that Portugal was bad, but Texas was a little strange too. But I grew that network. I grew my network in Houston. I grew it in every market I go into. I grow it. I brand who I am, or I brand whoever I'm working for as a consultant through my networks.
So with that being said, just because they're going to be able to implement some of your skills during lunch.
Yeah.
So this is going to be shorter, but I wanted them to hear some elements of expertise.
Okay.
So as your adjunct professor, in theory, I'm asking the questions of your students today.
Right.
So these are some of the questions, and the guys, if you have any other questions, please let me know. But I really wanted this to be more of an expertise thing, and it's because I've seen Felicia work a room. I've seen people lined up waiting just to talk to her, and I've seen the same thing with Carolyn, just people just waiting to talk to them. And I noticed the attraction you guys draw. So just because we are in South Florida, Miami, there's 7 events a night. They start at 12 o'clock, they end at 2 o'clock. So how do you determine which events are the best for you to attend and to make sure they align with your interests?
So the last part of what you said, I think, is the most important. Do they align with my interests? Is extremely, extremely important. I think the second part of, can I just fit it in the day, is the other part of it. And then the third, looking at who's going to be at the event. And does this provide a collision point for someone that I've been trying to get in touch with, but I can't, but I know that they're physically going to be at that event, is another thing. And that's something that Max from, she was with Teach for America, she taught me. So I saw her at a school board meeting, and she was in the back on her laptop. And she's like, I'm here once a month, every Wednesday, because I know, and she's like, I just get my laptop and I sit here all day. Because all the people that were avoiding my emails all month long, I know for a fact all of them will be in this room every Wednesday. So it's about like positioning and like collision points. And so those certain events provide you that face time so that you can have a connection, so then those people do look forward to your email. Sometimes we blind email and blind call so much, but being able to have that, again, that authentic connection with them with some face time really allows a relationship and a conversation to be built after that.
Professor Rendero, because of the businesses you've started and the things you've worked on, and you talk all about who and what you know. A lot of you guys are entrepreneurs, you're going to be starting your businesses. So if you had to name the top 3 to 5 positions or the top 3 to 5 people that all these entrepreneurs should be trying to acquire, and not really by name, but by title and position or the strategic element of their business, like a mentor, a loan officer, an investor, what would be the top 5 people they should start reaching out to build a successful business?
To me, definitely someone in economic development, because they have all the connections and can open doors for you. Definitely a strong entrepreneurial person that has failed and succeeded, okay, because they will tell you the truth of how things happen and why they happen and how you can avoid those pitfalls. And always have a friend that you can bounce something off of that is not going to bounce anywhere else. Those are my top 3.
I would love to add a champion, someone that will champion for you. Right. Be on a board and say, this is the person that you need to have for this project, for this event, for this other board that we're starting. I think that's the difference between a mentor and a champion. And not saying that a mentor can't be a champion, but usually, most times they don't always play those two roles. And I think oftentimes the mentee thinks that the mentor is going to be that champion, and that's not always the case. I would say on the flip side of that, make sure that you are a champion for other people as well. And that just kind of goes from operating from not a scarcity, but from an abundance standpoint. If you get a project that comes across your desk, and you know that you can't do it, but you know that you can probably Google and find out a way to do it, don't do that. Share that opportunity with someone else that you know is qualified, because that adds to the strength of the relationship that you're building with whoever you're working with as well, that you can be a resource and like a genuine resource. I think that's extremely important. And then I would say some ninjas. Yes. Ninjas on your team, absolutely. Yeah. The executors. The ride or die people, absolutely, that you need to have. And those two, the champion and the ninja, can be in any capacity that Carolyn just talked about, but kind of understanding that you need those two people in those positions as well. And
I think that segues right into the key essentials in having a mentor. I've heard this from a couple of the people in the room, but I hear it a lot, like, am I calling my mentor too much? What shouldn't have asked them? Like, we've heard this from Tay at Platform. He has a very specific process. When you want somebody, Ty. Ty, when you want something from Ty, you have to email him on a Sunday night, even if he knows you, with your name, the person he's supposed to connect you with, and 1 sentence of why he's connecting you. And you can only send it on a Sunday night. Every Monday morning, he takes your email, he forwards it over to the person he promised to connect you with, and he may add 1 additional sentence to make sure that person knows you're serious. if you misspell their name, if you have one typo, he will not send it. He will send it back to you, and you have to wait till next Sunday to get back into that cycle.
Okay.
That was how I got two of my most important mentors. It was painful. I was so nervous, I misspelled a name 4 times. It took me 2 weeks to get in contact with a mentor. So, in essentials to having a mentor, what would you ladies say are probably the procedures and things people should not even pay attention to? Maybe more so the things you shouldn't do when reaching out to your mentor. Or the things that annoy you guys when you're mentoring somebody.
Oh, okay. Now that's an easier one because I still have mentors. Okay, you never lose a mentor. Okay, you have more mentors as you grow older and you get in your business. But definitely, when I mentor, people come to me and say, "This is my idea. What do you think?" And then I tell them, and then I also give them suggestions, and they go, "Well, that's not how I envision it." And I said, but your vision is your passion, right? I mean, I was in that position, you know. I was passionate about what I did, and I made mistakes because of the passion. And, you know, so, but you learn from those. So I think with me is when they come to me and ask me for help, I always like to have someone else, and I highly suggest this to you guys, is that don't have just one mentor, because you need to have 2 mentors or 3 that will bounce the ideas so it's collective, because one may think or may not even be so engaged in what you're really doing, but has the, let's just say, the legal expertise in your mentoring there of your business. And another one might have the financial. But you need that mentor that's an entrepreneur that thinks the way you do, you know, because it's hard. I mean, guys, when you know going to a bank, our industry, you know, that I was in for years and years, we couldn't get money from a bank. They wouldn't, because we had no hard assets for them. So I mean, it's so, talking to a banker to me was like a necessary evil. However, you know, it's so, I always say have various mentors at different stages and in different fields, because together you come out with that perfect mentor. It's not one person. To me, it has never been one person, and I always recommend this to others as well.
Yeah, I concur. I definitely agree with what you're saying, of having multiple mentors, and then realizing that the role and your expectations of the mentor should be a little bit fluid, right? So I think oftentimes what happens is I constantly get, hey, I want to meet. Can we sit down and meet for like an hour or 2? And I'm like, I don't have the time. Like, I want to help you, but we're gonna have to meet on a way that I can actually be able to add value to you and be able to spend that time. And sometimes it's just that's an email. You know, it's hopping on the phone while I'm in the car driving from Palm Beach to Miami. And so being able to be fluid with your requests of your mentors, I think is extremely important. I think how you take on a mentor is also important. You know, I'll speak at an event, and as soon as I get off stage, someone's like, "Can you be my mentor?" I'm like, "I don't know your name." You know, like, so taking the time to like cultivate a relationship first before you bring on that mentor, because you also have to vet the mentor. You know, I was in an experience in college where my mentor actually requested more of me as a college student. You know what I mean? Because he saw that I could get things done, and I'm just like, wait a minute, this is really one-sided. And realizing that ended up putting a strain on every other aspect of my life, because I was like, yes, I gotta be ride or die for this person because this person is my mentor. And in actuality, I was like 18 years old and I was mentoring like a 40-year-old, you know what I mean? So really take the time to kind of vet them, make sure that it's a relationship that benefits both of you. And then most importantly, make sure it's a win-win relationship for both, right? So if your mentor is up here as far as what they've accomplished and you're kind of right here and you think there's nothing that I can offer, there's plenty. You know, happy birthday on their birthday. Send a thank you card. Check in just to check in without asking for something. Like, these are all things that mentors will truly value, and all of a sudden what you'll start to see is they have more time for you because they realize you truly appreciate the time that they're taking out to spend with you. But it's those little things that you do to create a win-win if you don't feel like, yeah.
What are the, and I think I can't get Professor Hatcher to open up until I use a cuss word. That's
There you go.
in true form of her. What is the stupid shit people just say to you when they're trying to bring you on board? Because I've seen these things about, like we said, it's who you know.
Right.
And when everybody knows your face, as we all know right now, in my opinion, Felicia Hatcher is the godmother of tech in South
Right.
Florida. When everybody knows your face,
Yeah.
just what are just some of the stupidest things people come up and say to you that just totally turns you off or shuts you down?
Oh man.
Tell the truth. This is an intimate conversation that only the world can see later on.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now, treat it like an intimate conversation.
Oh wow. I probably could write a book about it. Maybe I should write a book about
you should
it.
write a book about it.
I don't. There's a lot, and I think it just really has to go with.
Don't be nice. Don't be nice. They came here to hear the raw. Tell them the truth.
Yeah, like I just sent you an email today. Like, did you get it?
Yeah.
And I mean, it's hard to kind of navigate that. Like, yes, I may have gotten it. You just sent it an hour ago, and I'm seeing you here. Can you give me some time to respond? I guess that's probably one of the top ones. Two, I think, asking for introductions, knowing that you should not be asking for that introduction because you don't have things stacked up to warrant that introduction, I think is extremely important. And like someone just asked me to recommend them for an accelerator on LinkedIn. I'm like, I've never met you. And he's like, no, I was at this event that you spoke at, but I didn't get a chance to talk to you. And I'm like, so those are the things that you don't do. One, I don't have a relationship with you. Two, I really value the relationship with the person that you're asking me, and I understand, and it took me a while to understand the position that I'm in, that if I'm referring you, that falls back on me if that doesn't work out. And I think that's the other thing of making sure that you realize whatever introduction you ask your mentor to make, that you realize that if shit hits the fan, and you don't do what you're supposed, I know you were waiting for that to come out, right? If you don't do what you're supposed to do, that comes back on me. And that comes back on my company, and that comes back on everything that I do. And that more than likely will jeopardize any relationship moving forward with who you're asking me to refer you to. And so those are the things that we have to make sure that we really, truly understand. And sometimes if I don't have a good relationship, maybe you put that in the email. Like, hey, these are the 3 things that I've been able to accomplish, or these are people that can back me on this, and this is why I won't F up. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes just say that. This is why I won't F up, and this is why I truly appreciate this introduction. I'm not going to let you
say
down.
fuck. It's okay.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know where this is going. I don't know if you're posting that at the church or something.
So, I mean, Professor, it's just, I think one of the things that I want to address, because we are tech, we focus on minority, women, and LGBT. So you're talking about normally a lot of transpiring of different cultures and different communities, and which you do international business. In South Florida, I still see a divide. And I think it's a difference between people almost understanding each other's cultures and how they work and communicate. What are some of the biggest challenges you've seen, maybe from the Latin Hispanic market to dealing with the African American market to just dealing with each other north and south from Broward to Dade? I mean, I've seen struggles there.
Well, I think from Broward to Dade, we're bridging that gap. And I think a lot of it has been the ecosystem that's helped that tremendously. And, I was just up at Nova yesterday, so, we are really spreading it out. However, when you're looking at when the culture is a big deal, and I think people have to understand in the workforce, all right, is that the Latino, the European, and a lot of other groups, our first relationship, it's not a sale for them. It's not, they're going to come up to you, give you a hug, give you a kiss. They have to build that trust, okay? And if that trust isn't there yet, to them, it's just that you want something from them, but they don't even know you, okay? So going back to what Felicia was saying a few minutes ago, we refer something, or somebody comes up to us and wants information. We've worked very hard over the years and paid dearly, okay, either with lack of family time or even resources that we had to give up, to build the relationships we have. And I think the more you build relationships with whoever you meet, and especially in the culture, in the Latino, I'm Portuguese, okay, so I fall into the Europeans. We're not Latin, we're not Spanish, but in Portugal, it is a handshake at a time. And then it takes time to build that. I mean, I have traveled with companies that I consult for that don't get it. I mean, I sit there with the executives and I said, this is how it has to be done. And then they finally get it when they're there. So there is actually here in Miami. We're so fortunate that the rest of the world is here. And what a great platform. I think that students today from grade school on up have such a phenomenal opportunity to learn the world in Miami. They really, really do. And I hope they embrace it because it's such a great opportunity. But it's the relationship building. The trust has to be there or you're never going to get anything done. And I think it's across the board in every ethnic group. Everybody needs a sense of trust at some point, and some are more, some are less. So,
I want to open it up for Q&A for you guys before we disperse for lunch. Do you have any questions out there?
To me, some of it is morally true and correct with what you're saying. I understand the values of islanders and, Spanish people or, Latinas and Latins. But I don't feel like everything is based on trust. Sometimes most times down here in South Florida, it's based on you look like me. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I truly do.
Yeah, I find that more than a trust thing.
Is there more of a level field of discrimination against black people as entrepreneurs when they come into the business world? Do you guys see? It's a hard question, I know, but I'm rephrasing what the man said. If I had to answer, I think you'll realize it's not really that way, but sometimes we don't approach situations the correct way, and it will go into some of the tips you just heard. Knowing who you're talking to, because you haven't even established or built a relationship with them to have that conversation. Knowing their background and knowing something about them to be able to understand how you should approach them in the first place. I think, and then again, Adam, young white male. Adam approached me after he saw me doing something. He told me, I will work with you. You will become my best friend and we will build something great. He's now a partner of Curator the app. So I think sometimes you have to learn the leverage and understand the situations before, because I used to feel the same way you felt. I more so felt that way when I was a 27-year-old black male with dreads. So at your age, you will feel that way. But I would advise you to come to someone like me. Let me mentor you, not on your business, just on the social aspect of being an entrepreneur. And that's the thing I think Felicia was saying, knowing different people at different levels for different things. Everybody doesn't need to be your mentor on business. Sometimes they need to be your mentor on life.
Right. That's a big one.
I would like to add, I think circles are really important too, right? So sometimes you can go 100 miles in the wrong direction with the circle that you're currently in, just like Mike talked about, right? So the people that he was originally pitching to probably weren't the right people to be pitching to, no matter what color they are, right? Unfortunately, because we always kind of stay in our circles and only sit with the same people at the lunchroom, right? We don't ever venture out to the other side, and sometimes they just get it faster. Maybe because they're early adopters in whatever your idea is, so it's faster to them. And once it's validated in that area, then this side gets it, right? And you're just like, man, I had the same conversation with them 5 years ago, and now they're finally getting it. And that's the way information and innovation kind of flows in our community, unfortunately.
And I think when we talked about this before too, sometimes people just won't dream as big as you. Right. Don't stop your dream. Just go tell your dream to somebody else.
I just want to say like how important it is to nurture relationships. I was told before someone was watching me for a year before they even, this is how she did it. She would watch watch sounds kind of creepy, but she would,
Stalking.
she would wait you know, for a year. So even if, you know, I'm watching Felicia and what she does, I just don't want to be so eager. I understand how you're excited about your idea. You want to just say, can you be my mentor? But just watch her, and it may not be an hour or two out of her day that you ask for, but you could, you know, ask for email from someone that you admire, or a question, or what's one piece of sage advice you could give me for this? Or in my mentorships, I've actually asked people at the end, you know, what is it, if you need anything from me, just let me know. And some people are like blown away by that, because not a lot of people ask them that. You know, so if you want me to share something, I could share it on my social media page. If you want me to forward it, if you want me to do whatever for you, I cleaned up at an event. Like, I didn't even have to do that.
Right.
You know, so just build relationships. Sometimes it's slow motion, but it's better that way, and you save time because you see, like, what mentors match your brand better.
Right.
You know,
I
you
get
don't
it.
want to jump and match with the wrong person, and then you're going to get your feelings hurt because your expectations were just
So we'll
misplaced.
turn that into our final question. If you had to give that one piece of solid advice and maybe like one good book, like my biggest thing is I've started reading the LinkedIn updates a lot more. So I can actually hit up my, hey, congratulations on what you, because they don't post the same things on LinkedIn that they post on any of their personal pages or Twitter. So I found a connection, like birthdays are more frequent on LinkedIn because people don't care about their professional birthdays, but they might not have that on their Facebook page. So I've started reading LinkedIn web updates a lot more instead of reading through Instagram. Like, Instagram's a waste of my time. LinkedIn has all the money what I need. So like maybe one good source and one good tip to close it out.
Okay. A good source for me too. I've really now started to master LinkedIn over the last year, and really focus in on it on a daily basis, but on a set time. I'm not on it all day. It's early morning, late at night. You know, before that. That's how I close out my day. On a tip, I can tell you that I think what's always been good for me is when I meet someone, is I want to know about them. I don't want them to really know a lot about me unless they really ask me. But I want to know about them because that's where that relationship starts. And that breaks the ice even more than anything else. And if you're really, now you don't want to know about them and you're looking all over the room, okay? You want to know about them, you truly give your undivided attention. That to me, I've had people tell me, you make me feel super special when I talk to you. And I think that to me is a huge compliment.
You do have great eye contact when you speak. You're very intense. Go ahead.
So I think my book recommendation would be Steve Stout's book, The Tanning of America.
Yes.
Extremely good read, and not necessarily have to do with networking, but it does in a lot of ways. Kind of realize the wavelengths that you can connect with people is more cultural than anything these days as we move forward. And I would say my best tip to leave away is become a follow-up like ninja. I can't like stress it enough. Follow up. People aren't always ignoring you. They're just busy and their email boxes are exploding. And the people that follow up, from my experience, are the people that I've always done business with. And it's something that I keep working on every day. But people that are follow-up ninjas are the badasses that are ruling the world, because that's the most important thing, I think.
Thank you, because I didn't have a word, but I think that last word will have to go. So for page 17, it's going to be badasses. That's going to be your word. So we would like to give a round of applause to Professor Rendero and also to Professor Hatcher.
Thank you, guys.